Hello, my name is Matthias and welcome to the FPL Scope and this video where I'm going to go through what I think is the best player at every single price point in FPL. So I'm going to go through all goalkeepers at every price point from 5.5 through 4.0, the same with defenders, the same with midfielders, and the same with forwards until I revealed every single price point where I prefer a certain player over another, basically. There are some price points where there's only one player. Those players will be shown immediately. The players that are in contention with others are not going to be shown immediately, just to have some dramatic effect, I guess. But I don't know. You'll see as we go along what will happen here. I'm also going to pick two different picks. One of them is the early season pick, like for your Game Week 1 squad, basically. If you want someone for the first like 10 game weeks or so, it's going to be a bit different than someone that you want for a full season. So it's not necessarily like a full season, like a zombie pick where you can't sell them ever, but it's more like long term, if you disregard the fixtures, who would I pick as well? So it's a bit of a difference. Sometimes it's the same player, sometimes it's a different player. But yeah, you'll probably get the hang of it as we go through each and every player. But let's start with all the goalkeepers. Let's reveal all the goalkeepers from 5.5 all the way to 4.0. I'm going to start with the 5.5 goalkeepers, the most expensive, and there's a bit of a difference between early season pick and full season pick. That's because Everton have really good fixtures, and I think Pickford slightly edges it over Raya in total when it comes to being an early season pick. Everton have really good fixtures. Pickford has been the top scoring goalkeeper the last 2 seasons, so there's really no reason why it can't be the same for a third season running. But as you can see with my full season pick being Raya, I think Raya will get slightly more points just because I think Arsenal will be even better than expected this season, especially defensively. I always have quite a lot of faith in Arsenal, and I think they will be strengthened by Subimendi coming into the midfield. And I think they'll also be really fiery and ready to go for the start of the season, because they are sort of turning into one of the old like banter club Arsenal that they were in terms of at least social perception. I think they're still a really impressive team. They had like some really good parts last season, but they obviously had a really disappointing season in the end. But I think they're going to be really good. So I think Raya, long term, is going to be the best pick. I think Pickford is going to be the best choice early on. There's only like 2 other alternatives there, Ederson and Alisson. I don't think the save points compared to the clean sheets are better. I think Arsenal's clean sheet potential is better, and I think Pickford's save point potential is better than those guys. So yeah, when it comes to the 5.0 goalkeepers, it's Mats Sells for me. I know a lot of people are going for a Chelsea goalkeeper in Sanchez, but I have really bad experiences with Sanchez as my goalkeeper in FPL. And I think Sells is just like a really, really solid pick. For me, it's a pretty simple choice in terms of goalkeepers overall. He's my favorite player to have from the start of the season, and for the entirety of the season, really. He's my favorite player out of the bunch here as well. So yeah, maybe I'll actually select like the best player on each section. We'll see if I can do that as well. But yeah, Sells, amazing. Plays for Nottingham Forest, who are still really good defensively. They still have Murillo, who's getting better and better defensively. He's young and going to be really good this season as well. Milenkovic is fantastic. Ula Aina, Neco Williams as well is settled into the squad. So Sells is fantastic, I think, all over. They've kept their own defense this season, even though they lost some offensive players. Potentially, at least Elanga and maybe Gibbs White. I still think defensively they're going to be really good. Then Petrovic for Bournemouth. Bournemouth have lost some defensive players in Hausen and Milos Kirkis, but I think those players left mostly because they have such high potential. They are really good players, but I don't think the replacements in Treffert at left back and Senesi coming back in as the centre back are going to hamper them that much defensively. And I think Petrovic is an upgrade over Kepa Arrizabalaga. So I think Bournemouth are going to be good across the season. Not really too enthused about Brentford and Kelleher. I think that's just a little bit of like Liverpool bias in terms of Kelleher being a good pick. He is a decent goalkeeper. Brentford have been a good team in the past, but seeing as they are losing their best players now, I think it's a way more uncertain pick to have. So for me, Petrovic is, again, the simple pick, both for the early season and for the full season, even though the fixtures aren't the best, especially with Game Week 1 against Liverpool. But yeah. When it comes to 4.0 goalkeepers, we don't really have any options anymore, especially seeing as Leeds are signing a new goalkeeper. So Carl Darlow is not going to be the starting goalkeeper. There is a small chance that Kinski is the starting goalkeeper from the start of the season for Spurs, so that's why I have him as the early season pick. But I think across the season, it is probably Dubravka who has the best chance of being the starting goalkeeper for one of these teams. Nick Pope has not looked impressive lately, and Dubravka actually played for like a pretty big part of last season even after Nick Pope came back from injury and was on the bench. It took a little while before Nick Pope came back into the team. So I think Dubravka is right there. He's been a starting goalkeeper before in the Premier League, and I think he has a chance overall throughout the season. But yeah, like I said, Sells is my favorite goalkeeper overall in this price bracket, and that's the player I would go for in goal in general. Going on to the defenders, between every defender basically between 6.0 and 4.0, because we don't really have any other price points. We don't have a Trent Alexander-Arnold costing 7.5 or 7.0, and we have a lot of good 6.0 defenders overall. I think this is the most difficult choice, the best 6.0 defender, because I think there's so many good candidates. Like, I really like a lot of these players. I think there's really good candidates all over when it comes to defense, but especially in that 6.0 and 4.5 bracket, I think there's really good options here. Some decent options at 5.5 and 5.0 as well. 4.0, there's also a slight selection of players, but there are some nice assets there as well. So I think all across the board, there are pretty good picks in all of these price categories for defenders. So let's go through them one by one. When it comes to 6.0 defenders, it's really tough. I've been through, like, I think I named pretty much everyone apart from maybe Kirkes and Robertson from Liverpool. I think everyone has a chance. Cucurella is my early season pick as it stands right now. Just because I think Chelsea have such good fixtures and Cucurella is super offensive. He scored 5 goals after December, like latter half of the season. He scored 5 goals in the league, and he's shown some really good goal scoring prowess. So I think he has some really high upside. He's also someone who is slightly better than the average fullback, at least when it comes to defensive contributions, which is going to be a huge thing this season. Defensive contributions is also basically the reason why I picked Van Dijk across the season, also because of his surety. Like, you're sure that he's going to start every game, Van Dijk, in defense, which is not the case with Frimpong, who is the other player that I was really tempted to pick both for the early season and full season pick. Gabriel Magalhaes from Arsenal is also someone that I'm really enamored by, of course. I thought it was going to be 6.5, but I think it's 6.0 just because of the new defensive contributions thing, which is not that beneficial for Arsenal defenders, which is why I'm slightly hesitant to have him in either of these picks, but I'm also could have very easily gone for him as well. The same with the Man City defenders at 6.0, Aït-Nouri and Guardiola. I think they're both great picks. I think Aït-Nouri, if he plays every single game, he's going to be probably the best player here, but I'm not completely sure about that, so I can't really pick him either. Guardiola, he's going to play mostly center back this season. I'm not sure how that's going to affect him, but I think he's going to be a really solid contributor overall as well. So plenty of great options here, but I think Cucurella is my favorite for the early season because of the easy fixtures, and Van Dijk is just so solid. He is both when it comes to goal threat, defensive contributions, playing for a good team, being a nailed player. Like, he has everything, so that's why he's like the safe pick for the entirety of the season, basically. When it comes to 5.5, I have, and also it's kind of the same with 5.0, I have a Nottingham Forest defender as the early season pick because of the easy fixtures that they had at the start of the season, and I have a Crystal Palace defender as the full season pick because they also have some really nice attributes, basically, that make them really nice players to have in FPL in general. When it comes to Murillo, like I said previously, he is really young and already so good. He's also a beast when it comes to defensive contributions potential. So yeah, he has a lot of good assets. He can also score goals. I think he has another level to reach there as well. So I think he's a really solid pick at 5.5 as well. He is someone that I would also consider for my Game Week 1 squad for sure. Daniel Munoz is someone that I've also had in some drafts this preseason. He's going to be really good long-term in terms of playing as basically a right winger for Crystal Palace, which is a really good team, especially if they keep Eze. If they sell Eze, it's going to be a bit more tough for Crystal Palace players to be viable because I think they're going to struggle without Eze. But if he stays, I think Munoz is going to be fantastic. The same can be said for Maxence Lacroix, who was one of the best players in terms of defensive contributions last season. There's no reason why that wouldn't continue, and he was such a good player last season as well that he really helped Crystal Palace stabilize itself across the season. So yeah, I think Lacroix is a really good 5.0 defender. There's not really that many good 5.0 defenders in my opinion, and Lacroix is the standout for me at that price point. You have the Everton guys who have a really good defense, but I think maybe it's worth to go with the extra 0.5 for Tarkowski and Tarkowski mainly, basically. But Mikolenko and Jake O'Brien could be really good as well. But yeah, I'm slightly leaning towards, or kind of leaning towards Lacroix instead. Early season pick, again, Nottingham Forest. Neco Williams is also really good when it comes to defensive contributions, and he's super attacking, and he is on set pieces. He could potentially be the best full season pick as well, but I'm just a little bit more certain when it comes to Lacroix and his playing time, and also I'm a little bit more certain when it comes to Crystal Palace compared to Nottingham Forest as well. Because the other reason why Nottingham Forest are not the best across the full season is not only the fixtures, but also the fact that they're in the Europa League, and Crystal Palace are most likely going to be in the Conference League, which is also going to be a bit of a detriment. But I think Europa League play for Nottingham Forest in a really tough season post last season where everything went right, I think it's going to be tougher across the season for the Nottingham Forest defenders, basically. When it comes to 4.5 defenders, Wan-Bissaka is my favorite for the early part of the season, seeing as they have a really good fixture against Sunderland in the first game. West Ham, some really nice fixtures to start the season. Wan-Bissaka is also someone that I would consider for like a full season pick as well. He could be a zombie team level player. But I've actually gone with Senesi from Bournemouth in that category. Not only because he has sneakily good defensive contributions potential, like he showed both last season whenever he played and the season before that especially. He can get a lot of points in that category. The same can be said for Joachim Andersen from Fulham. He was also really close in both categories to make it. He is probably going to make it into my own squad because I have Wan-Bissaka already in my team, and I also going to couple that with Andersen, I think, who could be a really good full season pick as well. But I'm not quite as sold on Fulham defensively. They didn't have the best end to last season. I don't know. I'm a bit back and forth when it comes to Fulham. In a previous video, I said that Sanderberg is going to play from the start now, and Joachim Andersen is going to be fit to play. That might help them defensively. Marco Silva is a good coach, but yeah, I think they have good fixtures at the start, so he could be a really nice pick at the start of the season. But for me, Wan-Bissaka slightly edges it over Andersen in the early season pick. For the full season pick, Senesi is just looking like a really good player. He was 5.0 last season because he scored so many goals the season prior when he was 4.5, and he was like actually a really popular pick who scored a lot of points in several game weeks. So coupled with the defense contributions, I think Senesi is going to be fantastic across the season, especially if they keep Sabarni at Bournemouth, because they still have a really good defense if that's the case. For 4.0, we have Esteve or Esteve. I don't think you actually pronounced the last E or anything, but yeah, Steve is what I call him. He is going to be really nice for Game Week 2 when Burnley playing against Sunderland. I think that's going to be a decent fixture for him to start. But other than that, he's not really a high upside pick, but he has potentially a lot of good defensive contributions as well. I think that's going to be one of the things that people are overlooking, the fact that players that come from Burnley and stuff, last season they probably didn't have the best defensive contribution numbers, but that's because they were the best team in the league and they weren't really on the back foot defending that much. That's going to be more the case this season with Burnley especially, who are a really solid defense, especially if they keep James Trafford. So I think Maxim Esteve, I can't remember exactly how we pronounce it. Again, I think it could be a sneakily good pick when it comes to that as well. But when it comes to 4.0 defenders, which is a bit of a difference in terms of both 4.0 defenders and also like cheap players in general, you're going to use them less. And you're also going to use them probably in easier matches in hopes of getting clean sheets. And easier matches means also less defensive contribution points, most likely as well. So defensive contribution points are less important the cheaper the player is as well, in defense especially. So yeah, it's not really that big of a deal. And it's also Burnley. They did keep a lot of clean sheets last season. Who knows? But usually the newly promoted teams really struggle. So I'm not sure about him long term. But early season, nice, safe choice. He's going to play every game as well. That's not the case with my full season pick and Julian Araujo, who's still like an uncertainty. And in game week 1, you want to have as many like secure players as possible. We learned that the hard way last season when we had Kwanzaa and Nkunku, who didn't really play much at all, and we had players we needed to sell after game week 2, game week 3. When you really want to target the best players, not target the worst players in your squad to sell. You want to be proactive and not reactive when it comes to early season. So yeah, Esteve is better start of the season, but Julian Araujo, I think, is the number 2 now for Bournemouth. He got a new jersey number, and I think he's most likely going to be the right back starting for Bournemouth. So for 4.0, he's going to be fantastic at that same team as Senesi. So yeah, not as good when it comes to defensive contributions as Senesi, but he's cheaper, so he could be an even better pick. So across the board here, the best pick for me is probably going to be Van Dijk, I think. The 6.0 defenders are really, really good, and I think having at least 1, maybe 2 is ideal. But also shout outs to Senesi and Wan-Bissaka at 4.5 as well. I really like them. I think all across the board, all these picks are viable for pretty much both Game Week 1 and for the entirety of the season. So yeah, a lot of good picks to choose from here, but I'm going to go with Van Dijk as my safe option as the best player here. Then we come to the midfielders, and as you can see, all the players are already here because at these price points, there's only 1 player in each category. So it's pretty self-explanatory, but I'm going to go through each player, and I'm again going to choose who I think is the best value player. I guess both for the early season and for the full season. I should do that as well for these categories. And yeah, I don't know, back here, like for early season, I think the best option is Wan-Bissaka, and full season Van Dijk, like I said. Goalkeeper, I said sells for both, so I don't really have to go through that again. But yeah, we got some midfielders. Salah, pretty self-explanatory, 14.5 for a reason. He is fantastic. He's the best captaincy choice in FPL, and I think he's going to get the most points. I think that's pretty like a pretty non-controversial take considering he is the most expensive player as well and plays in midfield. So Salah is absolutely fantastic. He is the greatest of all time when it comes to Premier League, and or not Premier League, I guess, but Fantasy Premier League, soon to be Premier League potentially, who knows. But yeah, so let's move on from him to Palmer, who I'm a little bit uncertain of. I don't know. I'm not quite getting a proper read on Palmer. On one hand, I think seeing as he is the talisman for Chelsea and he's so good, he's so talented, and Chelsea could potentially have a really good season. I really like his upside, but also the fact that he ended the season last season when Chelsea had a really good end to their campaign. He didn't really contribute at all, which is kind of strange. So yeah, he had a good Club World Cup, but last season towards the end, he didn't really contribute and Chelsea still won their games. So yeah, I'm a little bit unsure about Palmer really, but I think the upside with him is really, really high. He's potentially going to start the season on fire like he did last season. So he is someone that is definitely in my consideration for Game Week 1, but he's not a complete lock like he is in most other teams. And one of the reasons for that is Bukayo Saka, who I think is going to be really good this season. Like I said, I think Arsenal will have a great season, especially at the start of the campaign. I think Saka's going to be really, really good. And yeah, I don't know if you've watched the video that I made the other day where I made the case for a free hit in Game Week 3 when Arsenal play against Liverpool, but that could be a really good strategy if you want to have Saka from the start of the season as well. But yeah, Saka looking really good. I think he's going to benefit a lot with better players as well with Arsenal. Subimeni coming in, Joker's coming in. I think Saka's going to be fantastic this season. So yeah, he's a really good pick at 10.0 basically. At 9.0, which is a bit of a different price point, we have Bruno Fernandes as the only pick. And I do quite like Bruno Fernandes at certain times of the season. Last season I had a lot of good fortune with Bruno Fernandes. I got 17 points as my captain against Leicester both times, I think. When I picked him, like I didn't really have him for much of last season or last year, but he did really contribute whenever I had him. And I think that's the case with Bruno Fernandes. Whenever he plays a lot of teams that are pretty bad and are pretty defensively minded, and he's going to be on the front foot trying to score goals and orchestrate everything for Man United, he's going to be a really good pick, especially with the defensive contributions points now. He's probably going to play a bit deeper, but again, the defensive contribution points probably offset a little bit of what he's going to lose in terms of assists and goals. Just because he's going to be more of a central midfielder this season, it seems like. So yeah, he's still on penalties. He's still a viable pick, but for the start of the season especially, he's not really the best pick. And like having him long term, I don't think he's going to get like super high points in total either compared to the other guys on this page. But I do think at certain points this season, he's going to be a really good player to have. So yeah, quite like him, but not that much really. So when it comes to the best pick, it's easy to go with Salah. I think that's just a safe option, but I really like Saka as well. But yeah, I'm going to go Salah as early season pick, of course, and Salah as full season pick as well. But it is pretty close between the three most premium midfielders here, really. So yeah, any which way you can choose here. Going on to the midfielders that are priced at between 8.5 and 6.5, we have 5 different categories where we have a lot of different picks in certain categories. 7.5 is not as loaded with players, really. But there are some really good options here. So yeah, let's just go ahead and look through them all. First and foremost, 8.5, this is between 3 players, and really it's between 2 players, because Heung-min Son at 8.5, I don't really get what FPL were trying to do there, because he wasn't really that good last season, and he is kind of on his last legs, basically. So it's between Florian Wirtz, who's a new player in the league, and Omar Marmoush. And for me, Marmoush is someone that I'm really high on this season. He was so good in the Bundesliga. We can actually compare the stats between him and Florian Wirtz in the Bundesliga last season, and I think Marmoush actually got more goal contributions despite him leaving halfway through after 17 matches and Florian Wirtz playing 31 matches. So I think Marmoush is just a better pick overall. He's also on set pieces, which could be the case for Wirtz as well. He could also be on penalties, Marmoush. That's not going to be the case for Wirtz. And I think Man City against Liverpool is pretty even in terms of how good they can be. Liverpool are obviously the reigning champions. You would give them the edge there, but at the same time, Marmoush has less players competing with him for the goals and assists and stuff than with Liverpool, where there's a lot of different, and especially Salah taking up most of the goals. You have Haaland obviously for City, but Marmoush is going to be involved in a lot of things there as well. So yeah, I really like Marmoush. I am also pretty high on Wirtz. I think he's going to be someone that I have at certain points this season, but he's probably going to need to acclimatize to the Premier League a little bit more, which is what Marmoush has already done this past season. I think Marmoush is going to be even better and really have a great campaign for Manchester City this year. So yeah, Marmoush is my pick at 8.5. 8.0, there's a lot of different picks, but none of them are really good options to start the season. Martin Ødegaard at 8.0, I think it's a bit strange that he went only down 0.5 after last season, where he was really, really struggling to play well. But yeah, 8.0, you have the Man United newbies in Cunha and Mbeumo. You have Ødegaard, and you have some other couple of different players, but I've gone with Cunha for both picks here. Because there's not really any early season picks. Man United have terrible fixtures to start the season, but so is the case for pretty much every other 8.0 midfielder as well. So Cunha is my choice there. And long term, I actually think Cunha is going to be really, really good. Like, people are lamenting the fact that he's losing penalties from last season, but he only scored one penalty in the 2024-25 campaign. So he's not really losing much when it comes to losing penalties. And he did score a lot of goals. And yes, he did overperform his XG, same as with Mbeumo. But I think Cunha also is playing the most forward out of the three potential options in midfield for Man United, in Bruno Fernandes, Cunha, and Mbeumo. You also have Amad Diallo there, who's I'll get to him at 6.5. But yeah, I think Cunha is someone that has really high potential, especially if Man United can realize their full potential, and if they can be a top 10, top 8, top 6 potentially side this season. I think Cunha could be really, really, really good value at some point, but not at the start of the season. I don't think it's going to be that good. But later on, I think he could be really, really good because he's so talented, Cunha. Speaking of so talented, we have Eberechi Eze at 7.5. Again, 7.5 is a bit lackluster when it comes to like immediate impact for me. I think Eze is the best player for the full season. That's pretty easy choice. But early season, Eze has been disappointing for me both the last two seasons. I've had him, I think, from game week 1 or close to it. And he's been really struggling to get ahead of himself like early on in the season. So yeah, I'm gonna wait and see with Eze. I don't think there's any like really good 7.5 midfielders to choose from here long term either. So Eze is basically just the default pick here as well at 7.5. 7.0 is not really a default pick because I really like Morgan Rogers. I think he's a really good player to have in FPL. Aston Villa have a really good start to the season fixtures. And also for the entirety of the season, I think Aston Villa are going to be really, really, really damn good. So yeah, Morgan Rogers at 7.0. He is definitely someone I'm considering for Game Week 1, and he's also someone I'm considering for the zombie team for the entirety of this campaign. So yeah, just really good. He is consistent when it comes to minutes, plays for a really good team. He plays really attackingly right behind Ollie Watkins. I think there's just so much to like about Rogers, and he is a strong contender for the best player on this page as well. Then we come down to the 6.5 midfielders, and early season, I think Kudus is going to be potentially really, really good. I think he might be underpriced. That is not really a controversial take. It seems like a lot of people are going with that take. I'm not the biggest fan of Kudus from last season, obviously. As a West Ham fan, he was really atrocious. So yeah, he has sky-high potential though, and for 6.5 for a resurgent Spurs team, for some reason didn't get the same price rise as Man United have gotten, or the same price. They haven't kept the same price like Man United have mostly. Kudus at 6.5 could be a really good steal, especially early season when Spurs have such good fixtures. But for the entirety of the season, once Rodri is back fully healthy, we can trust him to play every game. I think he's going to be a bit of a game breaker because he was close to getting both double-digit goals and double-digit assists when he won the Ballon d'Or the season prior to this past one. Which is kind of crazy for a defensive midfielder. And we also have the defensive contributions thing now, which is going to help him even more. So Rodrigo is a really, really nice, tasty pick. I think for the early start of the season when he's working his way back and stuff, don't really know what to make of Man City yet. I'm going to stave off of him a little bit, but he is someone that I am considering a 6.5 even at the start of the season if he's proving his worth in terms of being ready to play from game week 1 onwards. So I think long-term he's going to be really, really good. He is going to be one of the main benefactors from the defensive contributions, I think. Or like at least for a player that can score 10 plus goals and 10 plus assists in a single season. So he's going to be a really nice player to come back. But he's also coming back from a long-term injury, so you have to wait and see and see if he's the same player that he was before he got injured. That's not always the case. And there's also the looming possibility of him leaving for Real Madrid as well. But yeah, I think Rodrigo is really good long-term this season as well. When it comes to the best picks on this page, I think for the early season pick, I'm going to go with Morgan Rogers just because I am... he's both cheaper than Marmoush and also just a little bit more secure. And I think I'm leaning towards him for long term as well. But there are a lot of good standout picks. Full season picks, I think all these 5 players are really, really good for the entirety of the season. I think they're all pretty good value in general as well. But I'm going to have to go with Marmoush. I think he's going to have like a truly breakout season in the Premier League as well. He's going to show why he was such a good player in the Bundesliga last season. He was absolutely amazing. So I'm going to go with Marmoush for the full season when City's fixtures are getting better, because Aston Villa's fixtures are better to start the season. So yeah, Rodgers early season pick, Marmoush full season pick for me in this category, or yeah, in these categories basically. Moving on to some cheaper midfielders. Not really too much to choose from here. It's going to be a bit difficult to pick the best players, as you'll see, but let's just reveal them and talk through the players here as well. When it comes to 6.0 midfielders, I think McNeil is someone that is being slept on massively. He had his most productive season by far last season, despite being injured quite a lot. He racked up about the same amount of goals and assists as he has done previously. Under David Moyes as well, he was really good, and he wasn't even fully fit to start most of the games towards the end of the campaign last year. So yeah, I think McNeil is a sneakily good pick. NDIA is someone that I didn't discuss when it comes to 6.5 midfielders. I think it's a bit overhyped, and I think McNeil is both potentially better in terms of points in total, and he's cheaper and he's more nailed, or they're about the same nailed in terms of nailedness, because NDIA is really, really good. But McNeil, I think, is potentially a better pick. And also Alcaraz, just to go straight down to 5.5, and since we're on the Everton train now, he's also someone that looks really good if he can get the playing time. That's the only thing with Alcaraz. I'm not quite sure if he's going to play or not 100% of the time. That is the case with McNeil, however, so he's a safer pick at 6.0. But I do really like the upside of Carlos Alcaraz, who's not only a good tennis player, but also a really good football player. No, it's actually two different people. But yeah, really good players and picks in those categories. But yeah, McNeil, it's my favorite 6.0 early season pick. When it comes to the full season, I think Tielemans could be a really big benefactor when it comes to the defensive contributions points. He's also someone that plays as a nailed player for Aston Villa. And he's also on penalties, most likely, I would assume. So I think he's actually a sneakily good pick at 6.0 for the entirety of the season. But I don't think he's like the upside that you're seeking in the early season either, that you can get with someone like McNeil. So yeah, when it comes to early season picks, it is nice to pick someone that has some upside but also some stability, and that's the case with McNeil. And Tielemans could be good for the full entire season. Alcaraz I already discussed, but at 5.5 for the full season, if he is confirmed to play pretty much every single game, I think Tijani Reinders at Man City could be an absolute, that's a bit much to say absolute game breaker, but he could be definitely someone that is really good to have in FPL. He scored a surprising amount of goals and had a surprising amount of assists for Milan last season, despite being a central midfielder, as we've seen with Rodri, which could be the case here, that Rodri plays a more defensive role, and Reinders goes more forward and scores goals and stuff. But he has super high potential, and I think he's going to be pretty nailed in this City team. He's just so much better than Kovacic and Gundogan as a player, in my opinion. I've been a fan of his for a long time, since I saw him play West Ham in the Conference League way back when, and he had a tremendous year with Milan, and he got a deserved move for a lot of money to Man City. So I think he's going to be a really nice pick. I am tempted to have him as the early season pick as well, just because we have the same sort of thing with Alcaraz. So maybe actually Reinders should be the best both early season and full season pick. There is someone that is really popular currently in Elliot Anderson from Nottingham Forest. I think he's a viable pick, but at the same time, at 5.5, you don't necessarily play these players each and every game week. And when that's the case, I don't think the defensive contribution points are going to be as important, because I think those are going to be more viable in those tougher fixtures where you're more likely to bench the player, basically. So Anderson is really good. He has a lot of potential, but I think both Nottingham Forest struggling a bit more, also having Europa League to worry about as well. I just think Reinders is going to be a better pick overall, because I think he's going to play quite regularly for Man City. So yeah, he's my pick at 5.5. When it comes to 5.0 midfielders, not really that many to choose from. I've gone with one of the best young talents in the Premier League in Baleba from Brighton. He plays for a solid team, at least, in Brighton. He is also someone that is going to play every single game, because he's that damn good for Brighton as well. And he's also someone that scored 3 goals last season, which is pretty good for a defensive midfielder as well. Defensive contribution points is obviously a huge part of why he's my favorite pick here as well. Not only because there are a lack of options, but also because I think he could be a sneakily good differential pick at that cheap price if he really contributes with the defensive contribution points. On top of that, he's only 21 years old and could progress even further. We've seen he has so many skills as well. He's not only a defensive midfielder, he has so many skills offensively as well. So I think he can actually explode, or not explode, but he can take a leap when it comes to his offensive production as well. As we saw with, he's not Yaya Toure, of course, but Yaya Toure at Barca was more a defensive pick. And then when he joined Man City, he really showed his full worth and potential offensively. And I think that could be the case with Baliba. I think he could be an even better attacking player. So I think he's a really decent player at 5.0. And I think considering the lack of 4.5 options, he might be the best player to have if you have that 0.5 extra in the bank, rather than going with a 4.5 option. Because at 4.5, don't really have anyone that seriously interesting players to choose from. I go with Matheus França at Crystal Palace because he has that potential to play and take over after Olise, who left a year ago. I think that was sort of the hope with França when he came into the team. When he joined the team. He also joined the team on when he got sold. The team that sold him had a Ballon d'Or clause, so that means if he wins the Ballon d'Or, he's gonna get his former team is gonna get some more money from the transfer. So yeah, I just gotta admire the confidence. Gonna cross the fingers for França to be a Ballon d'Or level player. He's only like 3 years older than Lamine Yamal and slightly worse, I guess, at football, but. Seriously though, he is a really interesting talent, and if he gets playing time and actually develops, he could be a starter at 4.5 for a really good Crystal Palace team who are really known for really nice cut price attacking players as well. But there's obviously Ismail Assar and Eze to knock off there as well, so it's going to be a tough go around for França, so he's not really that viable of a pick. When it comes to my favorite players here, I think Reinders is basically my favorite pick, especially for the full season. Early season, I think McNeil might be the safer option, I guess, because we don't really know how long it's going to take until Pep Guardiola trusts Reinders to play for him every single game week. But I think once he does, which is going to happen sooner rather than later, I think he's going to be the best pick of the bunch out of these players. Tielemans also gets a little bit of a shout out because of the penalties. We don't really know yet how the defensive contribution points are going to help or hamper players. Also, the old and new rules. There's new rules when it comes to bonus points and stuff as well. So that will be less of a plus if you're a penalty taker like Tielemans. But yeah, Reinders is my favorite pick full season. Early season, also tempted to say Reinders again, even though I didn't have him as my early season pick for at the start of this video. But yeah, McNeil, early season, Reinders, full season for these players at this category. So let's move on to the strikers. And again, we have 4 different price points where we only have one player in each different price point. So we have listed all the players immediately. Ekitike is the newest member at 8.5, and I'll get to him soon. But first, let's talk about 14.0 Erling Haaland, who's going to be a really good pick from game week 13 until game week 23. I think Man City have like one of the best stretches of games this season. And at that point, going into the African Cup of Nations when Salah's going to leave, Haaland's going to be super popular again. So don't worry, not that many people have Haaland from the start of the season. I think he could actually be a good pick as well from game week 1, because I think Man City has that potential to be really good as well. But yeah, he's going to be a really viable player later on in the season, but early go around, maybe not so much, maybe not the best value for him. The same could be said for Isak. Newcastle have really tough fixtures at the start of the season, but obviously if he stays, which is the big question now, he is trying to force his way out of Newcastle, potentially to Liverpool, which would be also really interesting. If he's a starting striker for Liverpool at 10.5, he is a must-have in general. Like, he is going to be absolutely fantastic if that's the case. But even if he stays at Newcastle, he's going to be absolutely fantastic across the season. Early go around though, he doesn't have the best fixtures. Game week 3, which is what I think is the best week to free hit in the first half of the season. He's going to be a really viable option if he's with Newcastle. If he goes to Liverpool, he's going to be a really viable pick immediately as well. So I really like Isak in general. Speaking of players I like in general, we have Ollie Watkins. So I think he's getting undervalued. The last 2 seasons, he's actually outscored Haaland when it comes to when it comes to FPL points, and he's 5 million less, which is kind of crazy. But yeah, Watkins is so consistent. He gets a bad rap for being like a modern Premier League striker who's not as good as back in the good old days type of thing. But he is just really good at getting involved and getting chances, creating chances for others, just creating a lot of mayhem as well in general. I think he's a really good and underrated player, frankly. Also, not just in FPL, but also in real life, he's an underrated player. So yeah, not much competition for places like it was last season with John Duran at the start of the year. So Watkins is going to be a tremendous pick at 9.0, I think. He's someone that I'm definitely considering, and someone that might be in my Game Week 1 squad. But I also really like Rodgers as well. So it might be the case of getting either both or maybe just Rodgers. But Watkins is definitely in my thinking. What's interesting here as well is the fact that we might have another price point at 9.5 with Gyökeres. I don't know what price it's going to be. I think 9.5 at the high end. 8.5 would be a bit too low, I think, because I think he should be more than Ekitike. He could potentially also be a 9.0 striker. So early season, I would still prefer Watkins over Gyökeres because he would have just joined Arsenal if that's the case. But long term, even though I really like Watkins' potential, I think Gyökeres has even higher potential as well. So that is a really strong battle between Gyökeres and Watkins for the full season. But I really like both of them, and especially Watkins, who we know already is going to play the entire season for Aston Villa most likely. He's going to be a really good pick. Ekitike with Liverpool, again, remains to be seen what happens with Isak. If he joins Liverpool all of a sudden, Ekitike is going to be more on the left hand side. Even if he plays the whole season as the number 9 for Liverpool, I don't think he's like that big of a goal scorer. Like, he's more someone that contributes in other ways. A really fun player to watch in general, Ekitike, so I'm excited to see him in the Premier League for Liverpool. But yeah, I'm not too enamored by him at 8.5. I think he has to prove himself a little bit because he hasn't really been a prolific goal scorer so far in his career. So yeah, I think he's a decent player, but I think 8.5 is a little bit steep for my liking. I think he would be better at 8.0 personally, but yeah. When it comes to early season pick and full season pick for these two, or for these 4 players basically, I think early season Watkins is the player that is both in terms of value and in terms of playtime and in terms of fixtures. He is just the best pick all around, so he's a pretty simple early season pick. When it comes to the full season, I just have to go with Isak. Whether he goes to Liverpool or he stays at Newcastle, he is again going to be fantastic. 10.5 is a bit much, of course, but that is for good reason, because he was so good last season and was definitely worth 10.5 last season. And I don't think it's going to get any worse this season as well, whether he stays with Newcastle or goes to Liverpool. So yeah, Isak is a fantastic pick at 10.5 as well, especially for the full season. Again, now we have forwards between 8.0 and 6.5. We have 2 different categories where we only have 1 player in that price bracket. 8.0 we have Bowen, and 7.0 we have Emma Nilsson. And I'm actually going to start with Emma Nilsson because I think Bowen is sort of more linked with it, 7.5 bracket, which I'll get to pretty soon. But Emma Nilsson, I think I'm kind of surprised he's not at 7.5. Maybe they just wanted the 7.0 striker because they didn't feel like it was fair to have that price point just left out in the open, because it's like a cut price-ish or medium price deal. But Emma Nilsson is really good. I think he could actually be worth 7.5. He doesn't have the best fixture to open the season with Liverpool in the first game. But after that, they have pretty decent fixtures, Bournemouth. And I think Emma Nilsson, despite some injuries last season, was actually really, really good. And like I said, I think he could easily have been a 7.5 forward. So I think he's really, really good value as well, both early season and full season. He's going to be the starting striker for Bournemouth, who are still a really good team, even though they have lost some really good players, especially Kirkus offensively is going to hamper them a little bit. But yeah, Evan Nilsson is a really good pick. Bowen is also obviously a really nice pick, especially early season. He's been in most of my drafts, not only because he is a really good and consistent player who's going to get points and plays Sunderland in the first game, but also because I really like his price point at 8.0, because the difficulty with 7.5 forwards is choosing the correct one. There's so many different ones that could be good at that price point, as we'll get to when we discuss them. But if you have Bowen, you basically have a safeguard, because if you want to sell Bowen after the early season games against Sunderland, where he has his best fixture in Game Week 1, you could sell him or you could keep him. He's a bit of like a player he's really like flexible, both in terms of selling him to get someone more expensive, like Gyökeres, for example, in a couple game weeks into the season. Or if you want to keep Bowen, he's really good. Or if you want to go down to 7.5, he's really good. So he's at a really great price point, in my opinion, Bowen. And he's also obviously a really, really good player who's been tremendous in FPL for the last few seasons. So a bit surprised that he was listed as a striker, but it seems like he's actually going to play as either as like an out-and-out number 9 next to Fulkrug or right behind him. Or he's going to play as a number 9 by himself as well, which he did last season, because West Ham are not going to play with traditional wingers, because they are going to play with 3 at the back and wing backs as well. So yeah, Bowen, really like him. I really like Evan Nilsson as well. And at 7.5, there's a lot of good options as well. So let's get to them before we talk about the 6.5 potential players as well. So when it comes to 7.5 forwards, I think Solanke is an early season favorite because Spurs have such good fixtures. He's also someone that could be potentially really, really good, especially if someone plays less, and Solanke is on penalties. We've also seen Thomas Frank work wonders with whatever they have at striker at Brentford. He's turned them into really good players. Ivan Toney first, Jan Vissa as well, were really, really good, both FPL picks and players in the Premier League. So Solanke could definitely have that blossoming season this year. I think is a really good pick. I do slightly prefer him over Kudus if you have to go with one Spurs attacker, and I think he's my favorite 7.5 striker for the early season. But there are a lot of good candidates. One of them is Johan Wissa, who doesn't have the best fixtures to start the season if he stays with Brentford. And even if he leaves for Newcastle, he won't have the best fixtures. But he could also join Spurs, which would hamper the appeal of both of these players, actually. So let's hope he doesn't go there. Also, we don't want Spurs to be strengthened as well. But anyways, Wissa, he's just been fantastic. If he stays at Brentford, especially his own penalties, he scored 19 goals without penalties last season. Imagine if he takes penalties. Of course, Mbeumo's leaving or has left already, so that's going to hamper them a bit offensively. But Wissa is such a good striker, and at 7.5, if he's started for Brentford, he's going to be a really good player across the season, like it was last year as well when he got like 185 points across the season. There's another 7.5 striker who did even better in Chris Wood, but like I said previously, Nottingham Forest are a bit weaker offensively, so I don't think Chris Wood is going to have the same fantastic season as he had last time around. He also started off the last campaign on fire and sort of fizzled out a little bit towards the end of that season. So yeah, he's not one of my favorite 7.5s, but he is definitely a contender for early season pick as well. You could pick both him and Solanke if you want to, but there's a lot of good strikers. Like I mentioned, I quite like all of these players that I have listed right here, which is kind of the point of the video, because these are my favorite players at every price point, basically. I've talked about Nilsson already, so let's go to the 6.5 picks. I think Brighton have like not the best fixtures, but they have decent fixtures to start the season, especially like the first 4 or 5. When it comes to the first like 10 fixtures, not as good when it comes to Welbeck and Brighton. And also the fact of Welbeck is the fact that he is very injury prone. So he starts the season really well and then he gets injured most likely. I think that might be the case again. So after around 5 or 6 game weeks, you might want to change him up if you do have him from the start of the season. But the good thing here is that you have a ready-made replacement for the same price in Jürgen Strand Larsen, who I think is going to be fantastic, especially from like game week 4 onwards. I think Wolves have some of the best fixtures. They don't have the best opening fixtures, but like it was not nearly as bad as last season when they had like 8 fixtures in a row that were really terrible. This time around, it's only like 3 or 4. Or potentially 5 before they have a really nice run of fixtures against some promoted sides as well. So Strand Larsen, I think, is going to be a really, really good pick across the season for really good value. He's going to be the penalty taker for Wolverhampton now that Cunha has left, so that's going to be a big benefit for him as well. So I think he's a really nice player all around here at 6.5 and someone that you should really pay attention to, especially once we get going with a couple of game weeks out of the way this season. So yeah, when it comes to all the strikers here, I think my pick is again it's not simple because there are a lot of good options here, but I think it's just Jared Bowen really. He is a bit more expensive than the rest, but he's just so consistent. He could easily get 200 points again. Playing for West Ham, playing up front, West Ham could be a lot better this season as well, hopefully. That's what I'm fingers crossed for me as a West Ham fan. But yeah, I really like Bowen, especially early season with that first fixture and the price point and everything I talked about, why I think he's such a good player to have from game week 1 onwards. Early season, it's definitely him. For the entirety of the season, could be Wissa if he stays at Brentford. Emma Nilsson is also a really good shout. Strand Larsen is going to be really good eventually as well. But I'm just going to edge it to Bowen again as a biased West Ham fan as I am, basically. So yeah, let's move on to the next section of forwards. This is the final section, the cheap forwards, where there's not really a lot of options at all, but that also makes it more interesting to pick players, more so than the categories where there's only one player in that same price bracket. So yeah, some interesting picks. One kind of silly pick just for the bands, basically, because I'm amazed he's still in the Premier League, but some other serious suggestions as well in this last page of this video, basically. 6.0 forwards, I did mention him in terms of playing alongside Bowen, and I think Fulkrug actually has the best potential to start from the start of the season as for the 6.0 strikers. You have double Igor Thiago for Brentford, Igor Jesus for Nottingham Forest. That might play Igor Thiago, especially if Wissa leaves at some point, whether that's in the summer or in January. Igor Thiago is ready to step up and play, and he could even play long term with Wissa if Wissa stays as well. So he is a decent pick at 6.0. Fulkrug, I think, got a little bit of a bad rap last season, but he is a German international for a reason. He's not this big lump that can't do anything. I think he's gotten a bit of a unfair treatment since joining West Ham. Obviously, it wasn't the best signing. An aging and injury-prone attacker is not really what West Ham should have gone for after already having Antonio, who was injury-prone and aging. But I think Fulkrug actually can really turn it around this season and prove why he is a German international after all. So yeah, I think he's like a decent pick early on, but I don't think there's that many good options at 6.0. So I think he's just like a de facto pick. But yeah, he's one like if you want to go cheap and have a striker that potentially plays You have to see in preseason if he gets playing time or not. I think it's going to be more of like a starting every other game, come on, every other game type of player. Like, yeah, I'm not completely sold on him, but he's not the worst player either, especially if you know if he's starting or not. He could be a good pick whenever he starts. Igor Thiago as well. If Wissa leaves especially, he's going to be the main man up front for Brentford. Was injured all of last season, so it's a bit tough to know how good he's going to be in the Premier League, but Brentford signed him for 30 million, and Brentford are really good at buying players that are really good, so he could be a really nice player long-term this season. 5.5, we have a really good standout option, both in terms of early season and full season, and in terms of just overall value. I think Beto has been incorrectly priced. I think FPL thought that their new striker, Tierno Barry, at Everton would be the starting striker, and Beto would not start. But Beto seems to be the preferred player for David Moyes, and as a West Ham fan, I know when he has a preferred striker in Mikel Antonio, whoever is the new signing is just going to have to step aside and let the old guy, the favorite of David Moyes, come in and shine. And that's what Beto did last season with David Moyes coming in as the manager. He was really, really good once David Moyes gave him his shot as a starter. He played much better than Calvert-Lewin and really helped Everton secure a decent end to the season, at least last year. So yeah, Beto is a really, really good pick. Really nice cut price option if you want to go for a cut price striker. I think he is the pick. So that's a bit of a spoiler for who I'm going to pick as the best players from this section. But yeah, he's just a tremendous player from Everton. So I really like his potential value as well. 5.0 forwards. Jokey pick there with Fabio Silva. He's still young. He's still in the Premier League. He's still not any good. And I just picked him for the bands, really. But his teammate at Wolverhampton, Kalajic, is someone that could actually play some for Wolverhampton. Obviously, Strand Larsen is the preferred striker there, but they could play with both potentially. Kalajic is a huge striker who can be a really nice differential to come in late on in games for Wolves. And also, if Strand Larsen for some reason is out, whether he's suspended, injured, or just needs a rest, Kalajic could step in and be decent at that price. But again, not the best 5.0. The players in general at forward, don't really think there's any standout picks there. I think there's actually more interesting picks at the 4.5 section. So yeah, not really much to talk about there with those players. And I've also talked for quite a while now. This video is super long, so big thumbs up if you've watched all the way through or listened all the way through. I really, really appreciate it, basically. But yeah, finally, the final price bracket in this long video. We have 4.5 forwards. When it comes to early season pick, I'm going to pick the player who I think is the most likely currently at this moment to get some starts. And that is Junior Krupi Junior, or whatever. I'm speaking Spanish now all of a sudden rather than French. But yeah, whatever his name is, he is a really talented player who played and scored loads of goals in Ligue 2 last season for... was it Rennes? Was it Reims? I can't remember exactly who was some R-worded team in France. But yeah, he's a really talented young player who could get some playing time, not even as a striker, but potentially at the left wing. I've heard some Bournemouth fans say that he could potentially play and make that left wing spot, which is a bit open, into his own. There's a lot of good alternatives there for Bournemouth, or a lot of different alternatives in Tavernier, Dango, Sinistera even, and Krupi Jr. It's going to be a bit of a horse race to get that position, but he could play there, Krupi Jr. for 4.5, and that's what you want. Again, I'm butchering his name so badly. I gotta learn how to pronounce that, but yeah, he is someone that is actually a pretty enticing pick at 4.5 if you want to, or if you want to go at that price bracket. He is, for me, the best pick currently as it stands. But what could be the best pick, and I think at some point this season, Mark Guy is going to be loaned out from Chelsea, and most likely that's going to be in the Premier League. Currently, it seems like he is close, or like could potentially join Leeds, which would make him a really, really good option. Same could be said for Rodrigo Muniz at Fulham. If he leaves and goes to Leeds, he's another player that could potentially go there. He's 5.5. He could be good there as well. I think he's 5.5. Maybe he's 5.0 actually. But yeah, so Muniz could be good there if he goes to Leeds. But hopefully it is Mark Guy who goes from Chelsea on loan to Leeds. There's like 3 strikers ahead of him in the pecking order at Chelsea now, but he did prove himself in the Conference League last season, scoring 6 goals across all competitions for Chelsea in 16 matches. So he's a really good striker. If he goes to Leeds, he's going to be a good pick, but if he stays at Chelsea, he's obviously going to be a no-go because he takes up a Chelsea spot, and he's also, not going to play at all. So yeah, hopefully he goes on loan to Leeds, but if not, you can go with Krupi Junior for your best 4.5 forward. And that is basically it for all the price points in FPL. a really long video. I hope you enjoyed it. I'm probably going to make this closer to the deadline as well, when there's been more changes and stuff, especially if I have a lot of different thoughts at that point, because there's still a lot of things to change before the start of the season. We have new players coming in. We have players potentially impressing or not looking good in preseason, maybe losing a place, getting a starting place, looking likely to be a starter, more so than they are right now. So there's a lot of things that could happen. I also wanted to mention 4.5 pick for forward, just because Man United have a lack of forwards in Xerxes and Højlund. It doesn't seem like they're going to sign a new striker either. Chido Obi is someone that you could potentially get a lot of value from if he becomes a starting striker at some point this season, but I don't think that's going to be likely this year, maybe next year, but yeah. And with that out of the way, thank you for watching. I'm super surprised my computer didn't overheat in this warmth in Norway and Oslo, because it is actually, you wouldn't expect it from Norway, but it has been like super hot lately the last 2 weeks basically. So yeah, happy that my PC went all the way through without overheating, because it's been struggling with that lately. I'm happy to have gone through every single price point, and I'm happy that you've watched all the way through. If you have done that, you could have maybe gone through all the sections. Maybe you skipped to the budget forward sections because you wanted to find a good 4.5 striker, which is also a perfectly viable strategy for watching an FPL video. But yeah, regardless, however you watch this video, I hope you enjoyed it, whatever you watched, and I hope you give it a like or subscribe to the channel if you did really like it. And yeah, with all that out of the way, thank you for watching. Need to wrap up this video now, so thank you. See you next time. Bye bye.